Dukes Nation, this is your home for all things Duquesne University athletics, whether it's basketball or football or soccer or lacrosse or volleyball, track and field, golf, swimming, you name it, everything in between. If it's happening at UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse, Arthur J. Rooney Athletic Field, or anywhere our Dukes play, you're going to hear about it here. Hello and welcome, Dukes fans. You are looking at co-producer Rudy Longarini inside the worldwide headquarters and studios of All Dukes Sports Talk. I'm Bob Healy III, joined as always by Nick Frost, and we are uniting Dukes Nation for a conversation on all things Duquesne University athletics. So without further ado, let's get to it, and let's go Dukes! Hey, Dukes fans, welcome back to All Dukes Sports Talk. We're now officially here at the start of the 2025-26 basketball season that so many of us have been waiting for. We've had a few episodes so far this academic year because we've covered football and we've talked about basketball, of course, but we've covered football, soccer, volleyball, you name it. But it is now time to turn our attention primarily to the men's and women's basketball seasons. And we have another incredible guest for you. We were lucky enough to get Megan McConnell on a prior show. And we were lucky enough to get Bill Clark on a prior show. And another man's going to join us with a wonderful Duquesne University basketball past. And it's Mr. Kieron Achara coming to you from Scotland. We're recording on Saturday, November 1st. And we had to deal with a timing issue because, Kieron, you guys already went into daylight saving time. We're going to have this tomorrow. So he was able to. What time is it anyway in Scotland right now?
So right now it's 2:15 in the afternoon. So 2:15 is I guess what you say in the States.
Yeah, and then we had to wake up Rudy at 7 a.m. in California, but he was more excited than anybody to get you on here, and it was well worth it. We're all big fans, and we love the history of the program. Rudy goes back longer than all of us. Rudy, you've always been a big Kieron guy.
Yeah, man. I think that Kieron, I think that you've been one of the most underrated. And I was looking at your bio on the Duquesne site last night, and I just wanted to tell you, dude, you were one of the mainstays there, and dude, I think that you've been underrated your whole career there at Duquesne, and I just wanted to tell you that I thought we have Billy Clark on 4 weeks ago. You're familiar with Billy.
I listened to that episode.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Saba agrees with you, Rudy. Kieron was one of the best guys we had. We asked Dave, Dave Saba, the old SID, to give us some of the best guys, favorite guys, and you were short on that list. And a lot of people forget the fact that you played 115 games for us, which is I think top 10 all time in Duquesne history. So many of those as a starter. And you had a redshirt season. You had actually a few injuries, Kieron, where you had a really good freshman year, but then you came back the next year and somehow still won the most improved player award. And then everyone in Dukes Nation was so pumped to see, what kind of Kieron Achara we were going to get junior year. And then you had the shoulder injury. Right. You had to rehab that. Next thing we know, the foot problems came up. And so you had to deal with a bunch of injuries, but we were lucky enough to get you back you forewent a professional career and instead in grad school played at Duquesne and were really a big part of getting us into winning basketball again. We hadn't won on the Bluff in 15 years. We hadn't had a winning season until later in your career when you and Billy and Damian and those guys under Everhart got us to a winning season. So can you talk to us about what it was like to go from a 3-win season to being competitive again?
So I guess, starting off, I'll talk about my basketball journey. And I had no idea what basketball even was. I was a young kid from Scotland. I went to a basketball camp at Robert Morris, 5-star basketball camp, and fell in love with Pittsburgh. And that was the hook. Someone told me about a scholarship at that camp, and that just changed my mindset. I went from someone who was playing a little bit of basketball for fun to, oh my God, there's a chance of getting a scholarship here, and I want to go to Pittsburgh. So that was the start of my journey. When I actually got to Duquesne, I went from being in these kind of winning programs. I won in Scotland, won in England. Went to prep school. 12 of us went Division 1 from our prep school team in the NEPSAC and MCI. And I remember we played West Virginia on the road. Is it Cofino or something that just went to work on us, and they ended up beating us in a close game. And I was in the locker room after the game crying. Like, it was like I just wasn't used to losing. And I'm there speaking with a lot of my senior players, and I'm like, what are we doing tonight? And it was just like, oh, business as usual. So my decision to stay on at Duquesne was I wanted to win so bad, and I wanted the program to be in a winning place when I left. So that season when I tore my shoulder, that was the 3-win season. I think I played 2 games in that, and Coach Nee really wanted me to try and play throughout the season. Me trying to play without my left hand was I was the most left-handed player you can imagine. I think I went one game trying to play. I went 0 from 10 or something from the floor. And I remember the press conference after, and Coach Nee was saying, you just have to be better. And I'm thinking, I am literally trying to play with one arm for you, And I joke about it now, but I remember hearing the people saying that I cost him his job. You know what I mean? At that point so that was a real difficult situation to go through. But then, like I said, there was always hope. I was Aaron Jackson, returning player. We were really close. We were the only 2 returning players coming into that Eberhardt era. Players were dropping out left, right, and centre because Eberhardt really wanted more from the program and wanted to be competitive. So yeah, that's what kind of kept me going. Just wanting to make sure that Duquesne found a way to get some wins under their belt, and I could actually leave and feeling a little bit better place. That I'm actually being a part of something and try to help them on the right path.
Kieron, it's a shame that you had the 0 for 10 against Oakland, and I think that season you actually didn't. I think you shot much lower than your career average because you're a 524 career field goal percentage guy. I was looking at your numbers. You're in the top, I think, like 6 or 7 in program history. That season trying to shoot with only one hand really hurts your numbers.
No, 100%. And again, right, because I started playing basketball when I was about 15 years old, and like I said, I will openly admit at that point, basketball was a vehicle to my education. It was not the usual kind of, like most of my American teammates were, they want to go to the league, they want to be pro, I was just happy to be here. You know what I mean? Like coming from Scotland, there's not a lot of opportunity, and no one even knew. They only know the Harlem Globetrotters and Michael Jordan. That was the only thing people knew about basketball. I was recruited quite heavily by Davidson at the time as well. And I remember meeting with Coach McKillop, and he's like, "Why are you going to Duquesne? Don't you want to go to the big dance?" And I went home, told my mom, like, "Why would I want to go to a dance? I'm going to go play. I'm going to go play basketball." So yeah. I genuinely had no idea about the sport, but I am so thankful. Like I landed in Pittsburgh for the summer school. I went there, had great teammates. It was a great priest, Father French.
Father French, I knew it.
Another Scot who took me under his wing. So I just felt like home. Like I really loved my, and I was a lot older as well. I went through a lot of experiences, so I felt like Van Wilder on campus at times. But it was it was a place I would never have wanted to leave. I just loved it so much.
Hey, Nick, I think I feel like we stole your question about Father French.
No, I was going to ask if you played a role in any of things coming to Duquesne just because of that connection there.
So there was no role, Nick. It was, like I said, it was, I look at it as a nice
bonus.
Once I landed it, just meeting him, speaking to him, we did support different soccer teams, so it was, there was a little bit scuffle there, but yeah, he just was. He just helped me with my homesickness because it's quite it's quite difficult and demanding. Oh, there he is. It's quite difficult and demanding moving to a foreign country. Being 6'10" black Scottish guy I'm already unique in itself, but then coming to a new place when there's a million and one questions, people talking about Braveheart all the time, and this, but it was a smaller, more intimate campus, and I definitely felt at home. It was definitely a home away from home.
Yeah, you weren't going to hide the accent in Pittsburgh. I mean, it just makes you stick out. But we used to joke, I don't know, Nick, if you guys or Rudy, when you were a student there, we used to joke that all of the priests sounded like the Beatles. You know, we had between Father Hogan and Father French, you had like an Irish guy and a Scottish guy. And to us, they all just sounded like, you know, John, Paul, Ringo, and George. Here's a great memory I have, Kieron. When you guys started to turn the program around, and Nick, I know you weren't quite a Duquesne student just yet. Rudy, you might remember this. The great, obviously we had the tragic shooting on campus, or maybe near tragic. No one died, but you know it definitely it ended some careers and changed lives, and you know it was horrible. But you guys from that were able to build up some momentum and unity from that, and Coach Everhart got very clever with finding someone like Jason Duty to put down the guitar and pick up the basketball, and then also just you know get through minutes shared, he was able to create sort of like an up tempo, 10 guys 40 minutes thing. And I remember handing out like the 10-40 tax forms. That was my idea in the crowd, and we loved seeing the line changes like a hockey team. I think sometime either that year or the next year, Kieron, 4 or 5 of your buddies from Scotland came and came into the student section, and I was right next to these guys. They were outstanding. And they were chanting like it was a European basketball game or like it was a soccer game.
Soccer game.
And they brought that energy. And I just remember thinking they were the greatest, those four guys. And they were your buddies who came from overseas. And I also remember Father French just beelining right to him after the game to go, you know, hang out with those guys and thank them for coming. How did you get them on campus? Like, what was that all about?
So I actually remember, you know, Scottish people will find any excuse to go and try and party in any place. So, so a lot of them were a lot of my old former teammates in the Scottish team. So I was always the young player playing on the Scottish team, and they were a little bit older than I was. So they've kind of embraced my journey, and they planned this whole trip. So they went to Philadelphia. They actually got into a Sixers game. They got backstage, you know, they got to go into the locker rooms. They were on TV, everything else, with their kilts on. So they'd planned this Duquesne trip. And yeah, they were just being themselves, and essentially being themselves brought a lot of attention, because a lot of those guys were taller than me. You know, they had these big 7 foot ginger hair, you know, drinking, having fun. So yeah, so they just reached out. The coach at the time, you know, it was saying like, you know, happy to have them. I think Saber helped out with that as well. Got them into the stands, and they had a great time. And it's funny because they came, I think they were in Pittsburgh for like a week. I only saw them like for maybe 30 minutes. they were busy doing their own thing. You know, they told their wives and girlfriends they're coming to visit me, but actually they were having a ball. So yeah, it was nice. Like I said, having them come over. My mum and stepfather was over as well at the same time. So yeah, it was always nice to when people came into campus. And then I also had randomly one of the soccer players on the team, little Scotty Gibson, who we went to the same high school in England before. That's where I was recruited, and then the soccer coach went over to recruit a couple of the soccer players there as well. So his dad was from Glasgow. So again, we had that Scottish connection. We did support the same soccer team. So yeah, I said campus, but it was definitely a home away from home, and we always found way. There he is. That's my guy. I think he's doing work with the Riverhounds now, actually. So he's still heavily involved, and he stayed. He went to grad school. I think he got his MBA at Duquesne and continued. So, but again, we were two that came over to Duquesne at the same time. We didn't even know we were coming over at the same time, but we met during the inductions, and we, you know, again, it was nice to have someone that felt that it was a part of home as well.
Rudy, I'm going to let you ask who his favorite soccer team is. Then I know you're dying to know who is this? Who is your team?
My team.
Oh,
who's Kieron's? Who's your team, Kieron?
So my team was Rangers. So I was a Rangers supporter growing up, and and I was a Rangers supporter because my brother was a Celtic supporter. So
Yeah.
we had that sibling rivalry, and Father French was a big Celtic supporter. So yeah, that was and they had a more successful time, I would say. So Father French made me know about it. He's still actually up to very recently, he was still letting me know
That's a
that they were
huge
better.
That's a huge rivalry. I went to Belfast a couple years ago,
Mm.
and Rangers Celtics is huge, and there's a lot of Catholic Protestant undertones to it, British Irish undertones. It's such a huge rivalry. Like anybody who's a loyalist, for example, typically goes Rangers, and there's a whole background on this. It's a really, really cool rivalry. Rudy, who's your favorite soccer team? I know
Well,
you're a big soccer guy.
yeah. Well, dude, I got turned on by Messi, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know any this, but I'm Argentine Italian. Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
my parents were immigrants from Argentina. So
I like the old Pope.
Maradona, uh, uh, Messi,
Yeah.
and of course, when they won the World Cup, and and now he's with Inter Miami. I mean, he's just carving up the MLS like he did in Europe with the European clubs. And yeah,
So
man,
Kieran, I'm actually a Liverpool fan because of Stevie G, who was your
There
manager
we
for
go.
Rangers.
So that's
Are
that's
you?
my English team.
Yeah.
Liverpool's my English team. My son's a massive Liverpool fan too. So
There you go.
mm.
But so you said you were a Rangers fan. Are you still a Rangers fan, or has that changed because of
so
the pro basketball connections with?
I no. So what happened with me when I came back? I guess it's actually when I moved away from Scotland. I realised that what Robert was talking about, the rivalry was so intense that actually it kind of made me step back and say, well, actually, because when I was in Pittsburgh, I always said that sports really united the city. Well, here in Glasgow, I can feel sports does not unite anything; it completely divides.
It divides.
Um,
Yeah. Right.
so my I loved, like I said, I was so obsessed with the Pittsburgh culture, bringing everyone together. If it was Steelers or Penguins or Pirates, even though they were losing every year, it just brought everyone together. And so I made a decision not to follow football or soccer the same way when I came home, and that's why I said I sit on the fence and I supported Liverpool down in England. The Everton rivalry is not as strong.
No.
So yeah, that's why, like I said, I don't follow soccer as much as I used to that extent. But I just have a love for sport in general.
Hey, coincidentally, so obviously during your time on campus, that's when the Steelers won Super Bowl 40, and those guys are back in town tomorrow, Sunday, November 2nd, because it's 20 years. So they're going to actually honor that
Wow.
team tomorrow at the Steeler game. And that was, yeah, I'm assuming you, like everybody who comes through Pittsburgh, you kind of grow partial to the Steelers when you're in town.
Oh, it's again like I said, I knew nothing about basketball. Then think what I was like with football, And I went to prep school in Maine, so I should have been a New England fan, but actually it didn't capture me at all. But
Yeah,
Pittsburgh,
screw that.
I've still got the Jerome Bettis jersey and the Paul
Yeah,
Malu
man.
and the Heinz Ward. I just loved it. I loved everything about it. So it's wow, it's 20 years. I think that's
Yep.
impressive.
Yeah, they'll be at the stadium tomorrow for the 20th anniversary. I'll be lucky enough to be there. Oh, hey, one last thing about the guys in the crowd. I have to say this still makes me laugh to this day. They were the best hecklers of the other team I had ever heard. One of your buddies, I think his name was Deontay Christmas, who played for Temple. Does that sound familiar? Remember that guy? He's a
Yeah.
good player. He's a good player, but he he came down the floor. Somebody blocked his shot. It might have been you because you had a number of blocks, and one of your buddies yelled, "There'll be no Christmas this year," and it was just the funniest thing. We laughed so hard. That was outstanding. They had us. I mean, we were putty in those guys' hands the rest of the game, but there'll be no Christmas this year. That was fantastic. Yeah, great memories from your time on campus, Kieran. I want to ask you, how close you pay attention to the program these days. I mean, you had to be so excited. Look at you see the banner behind me when the team won the A10s in 24.
You know what, the I've never, I talk about bringing people together. There was so many people who reached out, like who were just happy just to to experience that. So I thought that was amazing. I'm really close with, like, one of my best friends who was at my wedding as well, Andrew Gans, who was a walk-on at Duquesne. I think he got a scholarship his last year. So he's still in Pittsburgh. I think he still goes to some of the games. So he still keeps me right. I've still got the gear, and set me a ball as well up above me there. So we meet up. He either comes to Scotland. I was in Florida this summer, just to catch up. I was actually meant to go to the A10 tournament the year of COVID, so I had the tickets. Brian Colonna, who I'd still spoke with, because I'm still quite involved in a few things with Duquesne. Like, I was on the Racial Equity Diversity Inclusion Board for the A10. Reached out to Shireen at the time. Dan Brock was reaching out, trying to talk about potential mentoring and everything else, but obviously with a couple of the changes, it's just kind of fallen flat on its face. So I'm very much a fair weather fan. When the results are going well, you're kind of getting updated on things. Because I'm involved with British basketball, I still follow some of our players who are playing over. So actually last week, Toby Lawal, who plays for Virginia Tech, so followed that game last week, and it was a big win against Virginia Tech. So yeah, dip in and out. There's some players that kind of captivate my attention a little bit. I think one's over and was playing over in Spain a couple of years ago, or last year.
Day.
Yeah.
Day Grant.
And again, a player who just, it was just. I mean, he literally was like the Aaron Jackson of his time. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like he just captured that program. The fans loved him. He just was a real lift, a real boost to the program. So it's nice to see that. I will admit now, with the NIL and everything else, the way college basketball is moving, it's quite hard to kind of get that same thing. There's constantly in and out. There's transfers, portal. It's I really feel bad for any coach trying to maneuver and trying to build a program now, because it's not building programs. It's literally assembling a team for a season and hoping for the best.
Yeah, we've got Dave Dixon's going to play a 4th year for us. He's one of our big men, and it's a big deal. Like, the Duquesne Instagram account is 4-year man. He's one of only whatever handful in the conference.
One of two in the conference that stayed 4 years.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? Kieron, can I ask you just to, and I know that I think you have an event to go to eventually here, and but I want to ask you, while we still have time, to just kind of, you played till 2019 professionally, right? But you also had some time with the British national team, and you were at the Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. Can you talk to us about what that experience had? That had to be incredible to go out for an Olympics opening ceremony and to compete under the 5 rings.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great honor, and in fact, again, I told you about my basketball career. I had no intention of ever going pro at basketball. Like, genuinely, I would have happily been a happy Duquesne alumni, got a job, worked in Pittsburgh, for the rest of my life. But the Olympic opportunity came around. I think it was 2007. I heard about the Olympics were coming to London. They were going to be assembling a team, and I was invited to the trials. So I actually went pro, because I knew the best chance of going to the Olympics was by going pro. So again, it was a very untraditional way of playing basketball. So that was my goal. I wanted to make that team. I think that once I made the team, I was kind of more relaxed, like, oh wow, I've made it. But actually, then the competitor in me is like, actually, could have done a little bit more. So we got the 1 win, like I said, we got the 1 win against China. Show a little bit of picture there, and I played quite limited minutes for the national team, but that game I was very fortunate. Got some good minutes. I led our team in scoring in that game, I believe, and it was our first ever win at an Olympic game. So yeah, it was a very memorable situation. And before the camp, actually, the camp was held in Houston, Texas. The trials, I actually came. That was the last time I was back on Duquesne campus. So I trained in the summer. I think it was Coach Ferry had taken over the program, and then I asked if I could come work out with the guys. So I came to Pittsburgh, worked out, stayed with my friend Andrew Gans, and got ready for that camp. So yeah, it was a real memorable opportunity. And actually, there was a bit that I really realised that from working out in the college setting after being pro for a few years, I realised that I probably could not go through college basketball ever again. It was it was super intense. But yeah, definitely got me ready for that camp.
You were captain of the national team as well, which had to be just
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and again, an unbelievable honor. I think that I was never the most talented of players, but I've always found a way to try and buy into programs, buy into the team, and that team ethos. And that was I will admit that was probably one of the hardest learning curves for me in the States. I think that in the States there's a more of an individualistic kind of mindset. While I think in Scotland we're a little bit more collectivist, like we're very much about the team and the wider team. So that was a big culture shock as well, trying to adapt to. But once you start to understand and empathise with that, I think that helped me become a better leader as I progressed throughout my career, because obviously I played with a lot of Americans.
Before we dive into this current season, I feel like monopolizing Kieron. I don't know if Nick or Rudy had a pressing, burning question you wanted to ask him about his time on campus before I do that.
Yeah, well, not necessarily about time on campus, but there's another player that played for the British national team, I believe, or maybe played in pro in Britain that joined you, Ovi Soko. What was your connection with Ovi, being two former Dukes?
So actually, there was Ovi, there was Josh Steele, and there was Kino Williams, I think, came on campus as well for a bit of time. Big Morikino, all Brits, all players who played. Ovi is Ovi. He was an unbelievable talent, so strong. So he was on the national team with me. I mean, just exude confidence. And he's still playing now. He's at the London franchise right now, and he's matured into a great leader as well. Like, he's just a workhorse. But I admire Ovi because of the like I said, the confidence and belief that he has in his ability. It's infectious. So yeah, we've talked about our Duquesne moments. Like I said, Josh as well. And to be fair, there's as a marketplace right now, British basketball, there's a lot of top talent coming through the UK at this moment in time, and I've always tried to point them in the direction of Duquesne, especially in the women's game. I still reach out to Dan Burt now and then. So definitely in the marketplace of saying I could still help Duquesne in many ways, get some of those studs coming over and helping out in the program.
Do you have any thoughts, by the way, Kieron, about maybe this coming season? Because that's what we want to try to get to today. This is our season preview show. Based on, there was a tough start last year. Now they got a whole bunch of transfers coming in, but a bunch of studs, it sounds like. Everyone's pretty excited about the 25-26 Dukes. Do you have any impressions you want to share with us?
So I'll compare it to the year, when with the Everhart's first year, we had a lot of talent coming. It was me and Aaron Jackson were the only two returning players. Yeah. The importance of actually trying to bring the group together, and that you'll quickly see that you'll see the outburst of talent, but actually the way you read a room, and you need to have those players, who can actually, you talk about Dixon as a 4-year player. He plays a big role in actually helping people, come together, actually buy into Duke's culture, buy into the way the locker room is, and actually set up with the same goals, because it's such a short season. You have to come out swinging right off the bat, but you have to do it collectively. So my biggest takeaway is, when we're looking at the games, you're always trying to build the momentum up for the A10s, but you'll quickly see if they're gelling or not. You know what I mean? And you'll see these glimpses. It's, can they hold that fort when things are starting to go a little bit rough? Situations start to go a little bit rough. Can they stay together? So that's what I'm really curious to see. Obviously, you've got Niagara, the first game coming up. It just helps to see, get that momentum going, get the fans on side, and ensuring that they're clicking together. But I said that college basketball is so interesting to watch now, because you just do not know what to expect. It is, the marketplace. Like I said, it's really hard to build a program now. it really is all about the ones who can gel together quickly.
Yeah, good point. That's the one plus then for fans. You might not get as attached to players as you used to, but you also get like a lot of exciting injections of talent every year. So we don't quite yet know what we're going to get out of some of these guys that we hear such great things about, because like Terrence Skinyard, we hear great things, for example, but we just haven't seen
Williams
them,
too.
you know,
Williams.
Jimmy Williams, but we haven't seen him play, so there was one exhibition game, but it wasn't televised, and a lot of us we can't wait till opening day, which is going to be on Monday. It's going to be Niagara. Come and do the Cooper Fieldhouse, 7 p.m. Have you been to the Fieldhouse, Kieron, since it's been renovated?
I haven't been, and that's something that, like I said, I literally write to Brian Colon every year to say I'm coming, and I haven't found a way to come yet. So that's something I will definitely, and I actually want to bring my family back to show them campus as well. I think it would be a great experience. So just a little fun fact too. I think is Coach Goldstein still on the roster of coaches this season? Do you know?
Let's look
So
that up.
I was
Coach
in
Gold. I'm going to try to find out for us. I'll stop my share and I'll look. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I was in Florida this summer with the kids. We went to Disney, and I ran into Billy Clark at the airport, which was, haven't seen Bill in years. So
Billy.
it was nice to run into him. We got a little photo together. There he is. And I was wearing a Duquesne polo shirt at Disney, and Coach Goldstein came over to me and asked me about the Dukes. So it was quite interesting to see that even in Florida, he told me he was on the coaching staff. Obviously, I had no idea who I was and if I even was at Duquesne. But it was just nice to kind of connect with the new program, and yeah, let him know that I used to play for Duquesne many moons ago. So I've got shout out to Coach Goldstein as well, following that dream.
Yeah, when you were panning through there,
I saw Fort Myers, Rudy.
Yeah, Fort Myers, Florida. Yeah, I lived there in Fort Myers and consulted the streaming video from Fort Myers, Florida, for all those years. I see the Goldstein. Well, initially, there wasn't a university, but the Gulf Coast University got formed there, and Goldstein apparently became the head coach there.
There we go.
Hey, Kieron, so Bill Clark's going to come back to campus on Monday, December 22nd. The Dukes play a 7 p.m. non-conference game against Canisius. Unfortunately, the students are on break, so we know those are tough draws. But Billy Clark's going to bring his family, and they're going to come to the game on Monday, December 22nd. So if you're looking for a day to come back, that'd be a cool.
That would be the one.
That'd be the one. I know it's around the holidays, but just a thought.
Well,
guys,
holidays are usually better.
That's a good point. Yeah, more opportunity to get off work. Any last things for Kieron before we let him go, guys?
No, just thank you for your time, Kieron. We all appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Really nice of you to jump on.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, man, you're a one of a kind, and you've always been one of my favorite players, and that's going back a long way, dude. Back to the 70s. So yeah, just wanted to let you know that.
Well, thanks for the time. And I also want to give a shout out to Coach Dan Burt as well, because I think it's amazing what he's been doing with that program for so long. I'd still reach out to Susie McConnell as well. So it's nice to see the legacy there. And yeah, I just wish you all the best, and hopefully we can catch up soon in person.
Absolutely, man. Hey, buddy. Thanks a lot, Kieron. Good luck with the family and everything. We're all big fans, and we really appreciate you jumping on. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too, brother.
Thank you. Fantastic, man. Good job getting them, Bob. So yeah.
It's nice to with guys like that to hear their perspective and what they went through. A lot of us, Dukes fans, we are, if anything, we're patient. We went through a lot of rough times. So when we had a good player come through, like Kieron, what are the highlights? We like to hold on to those, and so he was a big part of bringing winning back to the Bluff. And we had a little downturn there when the Ferry years, and then Dan brought it back up. But that was a nice respite, to have those years, the Kieron years. He was the longest tenured in that. He had played for 5 years with that red shirt. So, he's one of the all-time big men for the Dukes. It was cool to catch up with him.
It shows how
Um,
important those camps can be too. A random camp in Robert Morris brings them to the block.
Yeah, really.
yeah, I know Danny Nee was the old coach of Robert Morris, and I wondered if maybe that had something to do with him coming here, if that's where he first saw him or what. I don't know. And then when Nee came here, I don't quite know the timing on that, but yeah, you never know. Of all places, right? Robert Morris Camp, and that's what made him fall in love with the city all the way out in Moon Township. Wait till you see the rest of it. That's pretty cool. Well, guys, we do want to give a lot of attention to the basketball seasons. And I mentioned, of course, that the men are going to play at 7 o'clock November 3rd against Niagara. The ladies are going to play earlier that day. They kind of get a tough draw. They're not too crazy about it. Our friend Rachel Zimmerman's like, oh, we got to play on Monday afternoon. So they're going to play. I think it's 2 o'clock, right, Nick? If I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. The women are playing St. Francis, PA. It is on ESPN Plus. If you're a faculty member like me, you get to go for free. I think it's a way to try to get some people in the stands because it's 2 o'clock on a weekday. I'll definitely be there for the 2 o'clock tip off against St. Francis. The men will play also on ESPN Plus at 7 p.m. That is when, other than night class, everyone's available. So we should see a big crowd for that for the men. The men did get to play against Virginia Tech on Saturday, October 25th, in a publicized public exhibition where the results are available to everyone. I'm going to bring up the box score on this. A lot to like from it. Number one, of course, they pulled off a win against a team from, that we'd consider to be from a bigger conference, maybe the ACC. So Duquesne winning a game at Virginia Tech, that's pretty cool. A lot of good numbers, right? Ginyard and Williams, both with 21 points, as you can see. The starters were those two, Hughley, Crawford, and Netchus. Netchus played 30 minutes, only had 4 points, so he didn't contribute as much scoring wise, but he also moved to the 5, which I found interesting because Hughley found out and Netchus got some reps at the 5 spot. Hughley did score 10 points in 8 minutes, which you got to like, and 3 rebounds, but he also had 4 fouls and then got ejected. So, I'm not sure what happened, why that did, because the game wasn't televised. Nick, you might have saw some video of this game though, huh?
I watched a stream from a Twitter follower, B Dub Wills, or as his name on X, or formerly known as Twitter, John JAWN Yins the third. So great Philly native Duquesne fan who took on the Johnny Keller role of streaming from a phone at a game that was not streamed for
Right.
us to
What did
watch
you
a little
see?
bit.
Do you know why Hughley got ejected?
So he got 2 technical fouls called on him. So that was the ejection. I didn't see that part. I mostly just joined the stream in the second half because of work purposes. But the team defensively locked in, and that's how they came back and won. So I mean, if the defense continues like it has been since the Dan Broad era, that seems to be the recipe for success for us. I did also want to shout out Jimmy Williams. Really should have seen him coming as a star of the team. I mean,
Yeah.
first name Jimmy, wearing the number 3, an Ohio
Mhm.
guard, 2 guard, and he had a lot of success at JUCO before joining us. So combination of Day Day and Jimmy Clark's history joining into one player here, except he's 6'5". So
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of positives to him.
That's good to know. Yeah, Rudy, did you have any takeaways just looking at the box score? I mean, I don't know if you read into the game or anything?
I read the story about it and also the verbal story. Yeah, it was crucial the last 10 minutes, 8 minutes or whatever. They held Virginia Tech to no points in the last 7, 8 minutes or something. And so that was the key to make us come back. We were exchanging baskets back and forth during the second half, and we were behind. But like I said, I mean, when you hold the goddamn guys to no points in the last 8 minutes, I mean, that's a fantastic positive to take away. And then and then the it was mentioned in there that basically it was Dixon and Netjes, their defensive presence. The fact that they can go out and guard the guard, or they could go in and go to the 5, like you were saying. And so, yeah, that's what propelled us to victory, was our defensive performance.
Yeah, I mean the Dukes, looking at the play-by-play here, and I know, sorry to mess with everyone's eyes scrolling so fast, but they were down 9 with 5:11 left, and as Nick said, really locked things up defensively and just kept chipping away to come back. Couple back-to-back dunks by Netjes and Dixon. That's like, that game had been at the Cooper Fieldhouse. This is one of those moments where, like, the place goes crazy, right? Because then you
Right.
realize, okay, we're gonna pull this off. So I love to see that. One thing I didn't like, guys, was free throw shooting remains a problem.
Yeah.
I think we were just over 50%, if I'm not mistaken.
Ugh.
That's just that cost us a bunch of games last year. Throughout the season, it never got any better. And I don't know, frankly, other than just an incredible amount of reps, we were spoiled with Day Day. Day Day made like what, 95% of his free
98% or
throws.
something like that.
Yeah, it was incredible. So, and so that was the guy that you could put at the line. He iced everything away. We just don't have one of those guys. And if we're going to keep rotating big men in, and sounds like we got a good rotation of big men, especially if Netjes is going to play down there. They're going to draw fouls. Hughley's going to draw fouls. Dixon, who bulked up a lot, Dixon got bigger this year, and that was
Oh,
a big.
really?
Yeah, he added like 20 pounds or something.
Wow.
So like that was an interview. I watched a video by our man Zach Weiss from PittsburghSportsNow.com, PGASportsNow.com. Zach reported that, and he did an interview with Dixon, who added a ton of muscle. So they're going to draw fouls, and he's doing that for that purpose too, to be able to compete with the big men down low. Dixon said that
Right.
he wants those minutes. He doesn't want to get worn down as much, and he's noticed in practice when he's going up against like a big Hughley, for example, that he's able to hang better. So
Right.
yeah, I've always been a big Dixon guy. I mean, I honestly, he's my starting 5 because my concern was with Hughley's ability to stay out of trouble. You guys bounced around a lot. I hope he just is able to not be a hothead, and that's the one thing I'm worried about with him. Because when you see a guy play for a bunch of different programs, the stigma is that he's maybe mentally he's not always on the same page as everyone needs to be. But so not a good start for him to foul out of a game early. This is this guy's last hurrah in college basketball. If he wants to keep playing, Hughley's got
Yeah.
to show, right, that he can stay in the
Right.
game and put up numbers and put down tape. So hard to put down tape when you're fouling out or getting kicked out of a game.
Right.
So, but it's nice to know we have some depth there. I wanted to ask you guys if we can go through this. I know this is way unscientific, but here's what I want to do with you guys, and we'll just kind of banter this. Let's at least go through like the non-conference part of the schedule.
Uh-huh.
And I want to get your thoughts on a couple things here. So let me bring up this schedule and kind of go game by game to see what you guys think. So I have the opener against Niagara as a win. And then I have Sacred Heart and Queens as wins. Like I don't see any reason why they can't start 3-0. And then I have the Villanova game out in Philly is probably a loss. You guys see it any differently?
Yeah, I mean that's probably going to be like the betting lines would have us as the favorites for the first 3 and underdogs for Villanova. I mean, who knows? Villanova had a bad year last year, so the expectation is that they bounce back, but we shocked Virginia Tech, who's projected to be like a top half of the ACC team, so we could pull off that victory as well. And then looking back at our start to last year, started off slow and not being able to win games that we should have. So I optimistically, I think we could start out hot. I think our rotation's a little more cemented this year, which should help avoid the slow start to non-conference play and conference play a few years ago. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. And then after Villanova, there's not really any tests on paper until December against Boise State.
Right.
Right. Yeah, Rudy, you see any differently?
Well, yeah, we also got to play Nevada and Reno.
Yep.
They got a pretty decent team always, very competitive out here in the West. And of course, I lived in Reno for a while. but dude, yeah, looking that, the big test is going to be Villanova. Okay. We're going to know what, a little, the first three games. I mean, we're going to roll over them. Let's hope, the first three. And, yeah, the real test is going to be Villanova. We'll see. We'll see, if we've matured, um, somewhat, and try to take it to them. Um, and like I said, Nevada's going to be tough too. So yeah, I
Well,
mean, like I said last week, I mean, we started so poorly last year, and our show reflects uh that poor start. You know.
yeah, the audience for our show went down as the team didn't perform well.
I mean,
People want to talk about a winning team, right? That's just the way it is. They want to hear about the good stuff.
they want to hear about the good stuff. They don't want to hear some guys come on like you, me, and Nick go on and say, yeah, well, we had another loser.
Yeah,
Who wants to hear that? I mean,
I know.
they know.
All right. So for all you listeners out there, the first 3 minutes of the show, even if we're losing, will be dedicated to the positive things.
The
So at least you
positive
can listen
thing.
to that for the
Give
first
us a
three
click.
minutes, and then you can stop listening after that.
Give us a click. Well, I looked. Villanova was picked to finish seventh in the Big East. I don't think they're not like a juggernaut, but you're talking about a program that's still it's Villanova, right? I mean, there's national titles in there, and not in the not so recent past, and also the Big East basketball still is the rebranded new Big East basketball is still pretty good. So yeah, I agree. It's a big test. The team finishes up its non-conference schedule. I mean, Rudy mentioned Boise State, Nevada. That's going to be interesting. Come home for to clean up against Canisius and Cleary. Cleary's the sort of empty the bench game, and then it starts A10 play at Davidson on Tuesday, December 30th, and it gets real, right? It gets real in a hurry. Um, the Dukes are not considered to be a favorite in the A10 by the preseason polls. Actually, I got to look that up real quick, guys. I don't remember.
I think we were projected to be ninth in the preseason polls, although I think the win against
Yeah.
Virginia Tech might have turned some heads and maybe raised expectations already.
Exactly. I think that was a little. I mean, these things are by nature are premature because the season hadn't started. But yeah, you're right. It was ninth. I'm going to bring this up. This is the information from the Duquesne Athletics website. Shout out to our man Jim Duzick, who's in charge of Duquesne sports information, including the men's hoops team, with this story from the website. And there's the poll. VCU is the favorite, barely over St. Louis. They had the same number of first place votes, and VCU edged them out. Then you got Dayton, who's always there. GW, Loyola Chicago had a couple first place votes, and you got to go down to ninth place to find the Dukes. I don't know,
I
guys.
think that that's
I don't expect us to be that low.
uh,
Not in Drew Joyce's second year, not with the talent he brought in. I got to say, being on campus, working full time, especially being close to the athletics department like I am with the major that I run, and then also the part time work I do in athletics. I have a lot of insight from people who are around the team who tell me, like from practice, for example, like what, and we're very, very, very athletic. As the kids on campus would tell me, like we got some dogs. Um, and so it seems like this is a really, really, this is an opportunity this season to take another step, right? And to return maybe and think big here, return to the NCAA tournament, maybe. This could be a three bid league this year. It's top heavy, right? VCU, St. Louis, Dayton, but that means you might have an opportunity there to get more than one team into the tournament. I still think Duquesne's best path is to win the A10s, as it is every year. But if with a good showing and you rack up the non-conference wins you're supposed to win, if you have a good showing in the A10, they could be a bubble team. They have the talent and they have the depth. We haven't seen this obviously since Dan Bratz last year. So I'm very excited about the season. I don't want to get our hopes too high, but the win on the road at Virginia Tech, the way they came back and won has me very excited. And we'll see as they round into form heading into Villanova. That'll be the next big test. And if they go to 4-0, right, then it's time to get really excited. Then the traffic on All Duke Sports Talk really picks up because we'll get the clicks at that point. People will want to talk about a winner.
I'm going to go out on a limb and
Go
say
ahead.
we're going to be higher than St. Bonaventure. We're going to be higher than St. Joe's. We're going to be higher than
Yeah.
George Mason. We're going to be higher than Loyola. We're going to be higher than George Washington. And then Dayton has had some bad offseason news the past couple of weeks
Right.
here. If we get top 3 in the A10 standings, it's going to be hard to say that we're not on that bubble that you were talking about.
And importantly, you get top 4, you get the double bye, right? So yeah, that's all in play. All right, well, listen, there's more than one basketball team on the Bluff, and so we definitely need to talk about the ladies. I'm gonna open up the women's basketball schedule. Now, here's been the issue trying to keep track of the women's team this year is they haven't had as much public exposure, right? They didn't have a publicized exhibition game like the Dukes did against Virginia Tech. And also, the women are sort of in a transitional period, having lost their 2 best players, right? That's fair. Between Megan McConnell and Journey Kiyaku. So there's a lot more unknowns regarding the women's basketball team and who's going to replace whom. That being said, the Dukes, we're going to get a good look at them against St. Francis at 2 o'clock on Monday. I expect the Dukes to win that game. Nevertheless, I expect the Dukes to beat Slippery Rock. And then they're going to beat West Liberty, another Division II team, on November 11th. The Western Michigan game and the Robert Morris game, if I look at those first 5, like I expect the Dukes to probably be 3-2 or 4-1, somewhere in there. I just don't know yet what to expect. So to me, it's a toss-up, really. Um, and I'm not even saying the St. Francis game is a gimme because there's so much I don't really know yet about the women's team. Nick, you're closer to the program than I am. Do you have any insight you could share with our viewers about what to maybe look? We talked a bit about previewing the roster, but in terms of how the game's going to go.
I mean, Bart gave an interview to Zach Weiss basically saying that there is not going to be a Meg McConnell. It's going to be complete line changes this year. So, and then he's going to determine kind of the closing lineup based off of how the players played hot hand approach. So, and how the feel is. So, it's tough to say. I'm always confident that they're going to be able to bring it. That Robert Morris game, I wish it was at Duquesne because it could be a really competitive game that is probably going to draw in a crowd of local basketball fans
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I hope to be able to make it. It's nice thing about the women's program is they still do play Pitt, right? So, and that's going to be a dollar beers game with post game autographs. That's going to be a lot of fun. The city game, December 21st. That, by the way, is going to be on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. So a number of games, I think 5 each for the men's and women's, if I'm not mistaken. It's either 4 or 5 are going to be on Sportsnet Pittsburgh locally. You can subscribe to that channel a la carte without getting a cable package. If you go to just Google Sportsnet Pittsburgh and you can find out how to do that. Otherwise, that'll be on cable for you. ESPN Plus will still carry the home games for Duquesne. So if you have that program or that subscription, you can get a lot of the out of market games too that aren't going to be on Sportsnet Pittsburgh and the home games that aren't going to be on. But I do love the women's program a lot. I'm looking forward to that, and I want to see who the next big star is going to be. If there's one thing that's going to be certain, they're going to be well coached. Dan and his staff, right, always get the team ready. Dan and his staff always have the team motivated. They're not devoid of talent from last season. They have a number of returners, including young players who are coming back that we all really liked. Faith Walker, for example, Raina Green. GGM returns, Gabby Granum Medley. There's Mackenzie Blackford, who had a really nice freshman season. Kelly McConnell, of course, is going to make her way in. Nadia Moore. There's the all everything Alexis Bortis from high school in West Virginia, 2-time state player of the year. And then they got a lot of size. If you look at some of these ladies like 6'5" Raven Washington, 6'4" Maja Rokol, I'm certain whose name I'm mispronouncing. Maya Rokol, excuse me. And then also Harriet Ford from Australia at 6'3". So they're not devoid of talent for sure. Dan always recruits very well, including internationally. So they're going to have players. They're going to have players. There's a few dogs on this team as well. And we just are going to find out a lot, I think, in the early part of the season.
Just wanted to also say that uh, regards to what I said last week about the women's team, there I didn't say was that there was like 5 or 6 players last year that got major minutes, and they were all freshmen. So he kind of laid down. The coach kind of laid down the framework of what we're going to be today. Today with the team, but so I mean, there are 5 freshmen there, and so yeah, or
Yeah.
sophomores now.
Yeah. Good point. Very
That
good point.
yeah. So
The
yeah,
and I think if guys, Alexis Bortis, I mean, if she, this is big shoes to fill with Megan McConnell, but Alexis Bortis comes out of high school very highly touted the way Megan was out of Pennsylvania. So, and it's Alexis is from West Virginia, but she's a local kid. I mean, she's from Wheeling. That's closer than several parts of what we call local or Western PA. So she'll have a lot of support locally too, and so she could be a big star for the team the way Megan was. The women were picked to finish 8th in the Atlantic 10 preseason poll. There's Richmond, of course, up at the top. Mason and Davidson getting the other first place votes. The Duke's 8th. To me, guys, this actually sounds a little bit more accurate. I think middle of the pack is fair. Nick, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the watching the A10 media day, I felt like Duquesne as a whole was kind of getting pushed to the back and not getting much attention, which was especially frustrating since we were hosting it.
Mhm.
But I
Well,
mean,
hosting the men's one anyway, yeah.
yeah. But as far as
Oh, I'm sorry. You meant we're hosting Media Day.
yeah, the
Excuse me.
media
Yeah.
day.
And the men
Yeah,
are hosting the conference championship. Yeah, sorry.
right.
right.
Uh, I mean, Richmond is the darling. George Mason had a good showing last year and has a lot of returners, so those two up top make a lot of sense. After that, it kind of seems like it's a crapshoot for the most part. I mean, VCU returns their star player, has given us fits over the years, and St. Joe's now has a good reputation because of how successful they've been the past few years. But really, the conference is up for grabs. If Duquesne can uh, bring some of that magic that they brought, especially at the start of last year, with these line changes and quick pace, we could easily shoot up to the top 4 or 5 of the standings like we usually end up.
It's another 10-40 season, like the Kieron Achara years, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be line changes. Before we move on to football briefly and then to women's soccer, which has a postseason game today, Saturday, November 1st. They're hosting a postseason match. They earned that with a number 3 seed in the A10s. I want to, as Rudy, you told me a story recently. I can't remember about Bobby Knight on the elevator. And I want before we leave basketball, can you share
Yeah,
that with
yeah,
us?
yeah. Okay, so uh, for like 10 years in a row, um, I videotaped multi-camera a sports banquet that was featured in Fort Myers, Florida, and when it was sponsored by the Rotary South of Fort Myers. And what they did is that they honored the scholastic and the sports aspect of the college uh, um, of the high school uh, men's and women's in Lee County. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave them a presentation that they were good, both on the court, in the field, and in the classroom. And so every year they would invite a like major sports celebrity, okay, to give a talk to the banquet in general, okay, and it was completely sold out. Like every year, like I don't know, 500 people, 1,000 people. I don't know. It was very crowded, and then one year, we after I believe he had left Indiana, uh, they invited Bobby Knight to speak. You know,
Okay.
and so I went. So I set up the cameras, and then towards the later years, they invited the students up to the person that was making the speech In this case, it was Bobby Knight. And the students then would, with me in tow with the camera, would come up to the room, the hotel room that Bobby Knight was in. And the students would get to mingle with Bobby Knight, and Bobby Knight, would just give them tips and stuff or whatever. And this is right after Bobby Knight. I've been believed, it was his last years, and he had already been fired from Indiana, because of his exploits. Everybody knows about his exploits. Throwing chairs across the court, and then also, he was known as being somewhat of a tyrant to his players.
Right.
And they, that video came out surreptitiously, that somebody videotaped him berating and just like destroying one of his players and insulting him and so on and so forth. So, so Bobby Knight comes to Fort Myers, Florida, and I got to cover him, right? So, and of course, I know his reputation. I'm a big basketball fan, obviously. So, we get in the hotel room, and so he's doing his thing, and the only thing that I'm thinking of is, this guy, is like, I don't know, he's just like, it just seems like he's, I don't know, just even when he's in a general audience, you could tell that he's not like a real people person. You know what I mean?
He's not a pleasant guy.
He's not a pleasant guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get done with all the students there, and so we're on like the 8th floor or something in this hotel. So we got to go down to where the banquet's going to be, and before he speaks. So that's really uncomfortable feeling. I don't know if you've ever been in an elevator, okay, with somebody that you kind of intimidated by, and so on and so forth. So we're waiting for the elevator, and then we get in the elevator, and I was the last one to get in with my big honking camera. And so I'm standing right next to where all the buttons are and stuff like that. And Bobby Knight's standing right next to me, man. And I'm looking at the floors tick down and stuff like that. And everybody's like, not saying a word. And all I'm thinking is, Bobby Knight is gonna reach over here and rip my heart out, man. I was so intimidated. I thought, this guy, I was afraid of him.
Well, yeah, if you have a camera, if you're a member of the press, he immediately hates you just upon seeing you.
Yeah, right. And so anyway,
what happened?
Nothing. I was just felt so afraid during the whole ride down. I thought that he was literally gonna jump out and assault me.
Yeah, well, lucky you didn't like touch a button by accident or something. He would have choked you. Yeah,
but that's my story. I thought it was kind of humorous, but anyway,
you've had some good brushes with some. So you've been around the business a while.
Yeah, I've been that sports banquet that I did 10 years ago. I mean, we did Bobby Ruzioni, who was the scored the winning goal.
Mike Ruzioni.
Yeah, Mike Ruzioni.
Yeah.
We did Dick Vitale.
Sure.
He was a character, man.
I mean, that's a guy everyone likes Dick Vitale. Bobby Knight, I'd be afraid of like him choking me like one of his players. Right.
And then Bill Walton, man.
Yeah,
just a class guy, man. What he had to go through, and I just he's a big Grateful Dead fan, and of course he did the Lakers games, as you know. And
that's not how you shoot a free throw. Yeah, he was
but anyway, yeah, when he died, man, I took it to heart. So Yeah, there was Coach Hayden Fry from Iowa Hawkeyes that we did. So, and then, I've done sports videos for a fantasy sports camp run by Kyle Yastrzemski's, where he invited Hall of Famers to uh, to uh, get these guys from the Northeast that would pay 15 grand to come down
How
to
great is
to
that?
play to play to play and coach by Hall of Famers: Ferguson
Yeah.
Jenkins, Brooks Robinson, Harmon Killebrew. Are you
Yeah, that's
kidding
good
me?
stuff, man. Good
I
stuff.
mean,
Well, hey, game 7 tonight, by the way. Who do you guys have? Game 7. This we're gonna be proven right or wrong by the time this publishes.
I
I
hope.
have I have the Dodgers winning it, even though it's in Toronto. But I'm absolutely rooting for Toronto
Yeah,
because they have a little bit more of a homegrown roster, and I think just as a purist, I just like the idea of not buying a whole team. However, if Shohei Ohtani comes out of the pen or something, or if he gets on the mound tonight and he has to like shut the game down with a fastball, I'm such a sucker for this guy being an all-time great legend already that I'll probably end up rooting for Shohei because I love Shohei so much as I want to see the Blue Jays win. But if I had to predict, guys, I say Dodgers win Game 7.
I mean,
Nick?
it's gonna be a legendary pitching matchup. Actually, Ohtani and Scherzer are both the starters.
Oh, get out of town. That's
So
awesome.
that's like legend against legend.
That's awesome.
I think I have to pick the Dodgers again. I can't pick against Ohtani, but I'm with you with rooting for the Jays. I mean, we're Pirate fans. We got to stick with
yeah,
the
you got to
franchise
stick
who
with
hasn't
them.
had success in a while.
Yeah,
Yep,
Even though the Blue Jays have definitely paid their fair share of money for this team to be as good as they are too.
they have.
Uh, and Max Scherzer ending his career potentially winning a game
I know.
7, that would
Right.
be incredible.
I would
well, like you
what
too.
go
Yeah,
ahead, go ahead,
like
Rudy.
you,
Sorry.
Tani. Is I'm a big fan of Otani, and but I'm so sick of. I'm always an underdog guy. Okay,
Right.
even when like for instance the Celtics and the Lakers, which you love, and I never go for the favorites. I mean, I always go for the underdog. So
Well, you're a
yeah,
Duquesne basketball fan. That's part of the
yeah.
nature, you know? That's part of the nature. So you're pulling for the Blue Jays. Who do you think's going to win?
Yeah, yeah, but like you said, if Otani gets in there, man, I want to see him
Yeah.
do his stuff.
I know.
So
I know.
yeah,
And I like it when they have to pitch to him, which I think they will early in the game, and then he might
yeah.
hurt him. Well, listen, I want to close out with some more Dukes topics, obviously. And I'll
Soccer,
do
yeah.
this quickly. So I think we should actually mention women's soccer before the football team. Women's soccer has had a really, really nice season under first year head coach Jessica Geiges. I actually brought some students to cover the regular season finale for sports writing class. We covered that as a live match that an in-person recap and interviews after the match and everything. And we got to interview Maya Matisa and Coach Jessica Geiges, and they were awesome for us. Jacob Davey, SID, filled in for Jim Duzick, who's actually the soccer contact. So it's a busy time for Duzick right now. Duz is covering the because he is the soccer contact and he's back, covering soccer. Davey just filled in for him, but because he had something else going on. But Duzick will be there today, 2:30 p.m. on Rooney Field as the Dukes host number 6 Fordham. The Dukes are number 3 in the A10 tournaments. This is the quarterfinals. Every match is held on campus sites, so if the Dukes win, and there's some upsets and things, there's a chance the Dukes could end up hosting more. So the Duquesne Dukes finished the regular season 12-5-1. Got to watch Maya Matisa score a couple of goals, get an assist. So I got to watch her up close and in person from the press box, and then talk to her. She's everything that you've heard about her. She's fantastic. She's just bigger and stronger than these ladies. I mean, she's fit. She's an athlete. I'm not saying, but she's just stronger. You can tell she put a lot of work in the off season to make herself how she is out there. She's very physical. She kind of bullies everybody. She's not the only player on the team who it was impressed me, but I really liked Maya Matisa. Also, the other young lady who jumped out at me, and I'm going to go down the roster and pick her out. So Matisa's 34, but Brianna Moore at 32, another forward, another just big, strong girl who just between the two of them, they were having their way last game against LaSalle. Duquesne ended up beating LaSalle 4-1. It was a lot of fun to be 4-2, excuse me. It was a lot of fun to be there. And so today, I think LaSalle ended up getting the 8 seed. Duquesne is the 3 seed. Let's take a look here at the bracket, and I'll show you how this shakes out. So you can see Dayton got the number 1 seed. They'll probably take care of LaSalle.
I think they
Oh,
already did.
that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So, do you know what happened, Nick? I didn't even look.
I don't, but if you go back, I think it had the recaps there.
Thanks. Okay. Oh,
Uh,
here you go. Okay, so Dayton did take care of LaSalle. Also on Halloween, Rhode Island took care of ECU. So far it's all chalk with the favorites winning. And then today you got the 7-2 matchup and 6-3 matchup. So
really rooting for a Loyola Chicago upset along with our Duquesne win to be able to host another game.
there you go. Good call. So we'll see if you guys. I know this is coming after the fact. This will drop on YouTube, but hopefully we can talk. You guys can watch more Duquesne women's soccer this season. So good luck to the Dukes today. They had a really fine season. And I want to also mention that women's volleyball is not dead just yet. I'm going to jump over to the women's volleyball standings and show you that the Dukes are currently in playoff position. They've had a nice turnaround recently, up to 6 and 7 in the conference. The way that works is the top 6 make it. So the Dukes are still hanging in there. If I can quickly show you an upcoming schedule here. Duquesne women's volleyball has a few matches left to play, so they got to secure their spot, as you can see. Right, so the Dukes are not out of the woods just yet. There's tournament time, but there's a couple games still to be played, matches rather, all through November. So, but the Dukes right now have moved themselves up into playoff positioning. So good for Duquesne women's volleyball. The football team had a very disappointing performance out
Yeah.
at Wagner on Staten Island. I was able to watch part of that. I tuned in right as the Wagner player muffed a punt in the fourth quarter that gave the Dukes a golden chance. And at the time they were down, Dukes were down 4, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it just, first play was a fumble that the Dukes had on some sort of option play. Tyler Riddell jumped on his own fumble. They eventually had to settle for a field goal. There was 2 back-to-back 5-yard penalties on the Dukes that pushed the field goal back 10 yards after they had already made the one that would have put them down by 1 point. So then, of course, they missed the one that's 10 yards back because the kicker has to put everything into it, and he pulls it left. Following the miss, Wagner comes right down and scores, and that's the game. So the Dukes should have beat Wagner. The Dukes are a better team than Wagner. But here's the good news. I think the Dukes, this is kind of a wake-up call, frankly. A lot of the experts are still picking the Dukes projected to make the tournament out of the NEC. They're going to beat LIU. They're off November 1st today, but the Dukes will go. They'll stay in New York State and face LIU November 8th. And then Central Connecticut State comes to Duquesne. That's still the game we've been looking at all year, guys. Last year, Duquesne had to go to Central Connecticut State, and Central Connecticut State pulled off the win to upset the Duke season. And so the head-to-head matchup is what it's probably going to end up being. Both teams, if they have one loss, whoever gets the head-to-head, of course, then gets the automatic bid to the tournament. So I think the Dukes will come home after beating LIU, and they'll beat Central Connecticut State. Now, that being said, guys, since the Dukes now have one loss, there's no wiggle room, which means when they have to go to Robert Morris on November 22nd, if you're Central, right, you could still be alive, because if they only have the one loss to Duquesne, then if Central wins its final game on the 22nd and the Dukes lose to Robert Morris in a game that is a chance for Robert Morris to upset Duquesne's season, right, and play spoiler, that being a local big rivalry for Robert Morris at Moon Township, the Dukes have to now be perfect the rest of the way. So the Dukes still control their own destiny, but they got to beat a good Central team, and then they got to avoid an upset at Robert Morris. And this is all assuming they take care of LIU next week. I still like the Dukes' chances. I've watched the Dukes a ton this year, working the home games. They're very talented. Joey Isabella made a play, Rudy, against Wagner, where he caught a ball out on the flank, just
Like
tiptoed
30
around.
yards out.
Yeah, just tell me the play, Nick, where he tiptoed around a guy, then went down the sideline. He jumped over a dude at the goal line.
Yep.
Fantastically athletic play. Even though it came in a loss, Isabella's putting a lot of stuff on tape. And even the punt returns that have been called back on flags, that stuff's still on tape. He is an incredible athlete. And I know it was against Wagner, but when you see the athleticism that he displayed on that touchdown play that Nick's describing, that said something to me. And he is going to be a first-team all-conference player, possible All-American. And I do think he'll get a chance somewhere at the next level in 2026. So I hope for his sake he gets a chance to go out as a champion. That'll be a lot of fun. Guys, anything last thoughts on anything we talked about today? I'll start with Rudy.
Dude, well, just finishing up with the football team. Yeah, a little disappointed with that loss, but I'm glad to hear that Isabella is still, clocking it and still doing his thing. Um, and like I said, man, let's try to get that guy into the NFL. I mean, a campaign started here. Okay,
right.
first. So that's pretty much it. And Maya, I mean, is killing it with soccer. Uh, you know, and you said, you got to interview her and such. So that would be very impressive. By the way, maybe we should get those interviews sometime on here. But anyway, and so yeah, and then also, by the way, guys, fans out there, Dukes fans, we are not going to have access to the game footage of the Dukes basketball teams. Okay, and so we're going to try to feature highlights from the past games. So just want to let you know that we are working over here our little hearts out to try to give you the best Duquesne Dukes coverage that we can. We're doing this for free, guys. Okay, okay, we're not getting paid for this. Okay, the least that you guys could do is subscribe and like this video, and maybe I should be placing this way at the very beginning of the show. But nonetheless, I just wanted to end with that.
Yeah, like and share and subscribe. That'll help our numbers. We want to keep doing it, of course. And some of the episodes, the Hitman episode, Brent Sutherland, he actually he beat Megan McConnell's numbers, which he was pumped about. I think he texted her about it to brag. We're optimistic, of course. Once the season starts, I think we'll get more traffic, and especially as the Dukes take care of business in the early part of the non-conference schedule. Nick, final thoughts on all things Duquesne.
All right. Final thought. I also want to shout out Mackenzie Muir, the third senior in the trio attack behind Maya Matisa and Brianna Moore. All three of them have really put on a heck of a year, and that they're the main reason why the team's had so much success this year. So just wanted to give her a shout out as well.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, can't wait to see how the Dukes look, both men's and women's, on Monday, November 3rd. This episode should drop before that, so we're going to let Rudy get to work on putting that stuff all up on YouTube. Thank you, boys. Can't wait to see how the season plays out. Let's hang another banner, huh? Shoo,
Yeah.
shoo, rah, rah. Let's go, Dukes.
Let's go, Dukes.
Go Dukes.